Hello, gentlemen. How are you, Elazar? I can't hear you.
I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you. Now I hear you. How's it going today, buddy?
Great.
Where's the crowd? We're late.
Money con or cold con, right?
Yeah. Okay, we're waiting for Ernie. Let me give him a call. Oh, everybody's getting on. Hey, Doc.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Doctor. How are you?
Hi.
The good news is that I just spoke to Gerard. He's at home.
Thank God. Okay.
Elazar, did you hear Elazar?
Baruch Hashem, he's home. Yeah.
We're on Moed Katan Daf Amud Aleph. V'dilma tuma megavoy bilonis mebavroi. Maybe we talked about if the trees were on the border of the field. Well, maybe the tuma was outside, and the trees and everything inside the trees is not tummy. The Gemara answers b'mesubachim. The trees were scattered; they weren't organized in one like line. The boy saying "Aha amar nein marchikin sin memakom tuma." When they made a line to designate tuma, they didn't distance it too far, because otherwise, Israel. Otherwise, you would be preventing Jews from using the land of Eretz Yisrael in areas that didn't need it. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Sheyesham Zaken Talmid, that you need a Talmid Chacham to adjudicate these rules. Lefi she'en hakol bekin bedover. If you have a Talmid Chacham in the city, kol milah demos alei ramya. All the various Sibur Dikadinim come to him because he's responsible. Let's say you find a stone that's got lime on top of it. Must be that there's a corpse below, and therefore tachtei tome. What if you have two stones 10 feet apart or 6 feet apart? Shtay. Im yesh sid beineim. If there's a line marking in between the marks, beineim tome, then the space between the rocks are tummy. The main sid beineim, if there is lime on top of the rocks but not in between, beineim tohor. Underneath the rocks it would be tummy, but between them it would be tor. Even though there's no plowing in between. We have another brisa that says if you find a stone with a mark on it, so below it is tummy. Shtayim. So then we say if there's plowing that's gone on between them, then we assume that either there was no corpse, but even if there was a corpse, it's been chewed up. B'nei and tor, v'im la b'nei and tome. So how can you tell me it says Tor even without Charisha? There are two stones 6 feet apart. The lime is on top of it and sort of dragging off the stone towards the ground in between them. So then we say, if there's plowing, b'nei and tor, then we assume there was no corpse there. And we can say that the reason why you see lime coming off of the stone into the ground is because of the plowing. The ilosid the beni beniu v'tomei. And if not, then the line that you see on the ground in between the stones is because there was a corpse there which was marked and it's tummy. Let's say you have a field. So let's say one side of the field, there is a mark of lime. So who tummy? Everything under the line is tummy. But now let's say you have two lines. Again, only underneath the line would it be tummy. Even you have a field that's been marked off on 3 sides. Underneath those lines, it's tummy. Now, arba, once you have a square marked off, so underneath those marks, hein tohirin, but the field is tummy. Because you want to spare as much as Israel from being tummy as much as possible. Then we said, even on Chol Moed, Bezdin could go send shluchim to be oiker, combination of grapes and wheat. Do we go out on Chol Moed? Verminu. It says, on the first of Adar, they announced that you have to give the machzis a shekel. And they sent people to be oiker kloim. B'chamisha Asr the 15th of Adar, koirinis ha-Megillah b'krachim. They read the Megillah in a walled city. The yotzin l'kavitz is adrachim. They go to pluck the thorns out of roads. Ulasakin archoivos v'lamed ha-mikvos, to fix the plazas, to measure the mikvos. B'oisin kol tzorchei rabim. You do what the public needs. U'mitzayin sakvaros. And you make marks on kvaros. Now, the Yotzin al-Kolom, so how could you tell me, Chol Moed, you Yotzin al-Kolom? You already did that on Echad B'Adar. Rabbi Loz, Rabbi Yosef B'Chalin Echad, Amar Kan B'Bachir, Kan B'Av. Depends. You do it Echad B'Adar for plants that are ripening quickly. And you do it Chol Moed Pesach for plants that ripen later. Another way that the Gemara resolves the contradiction is by seeds that may have been wheat seeds that have been planted already wintertime, and it's already growing by Adar. But those that are later in Pesach is vegetables which grow later. That's if you don't see the bud of the flower. It's not recognizable. So we don't know if it's kloim. But if you can see the bud and you know exactly what it is, then you can go even earlier than Echad Ba'adar and earlier than Chol Moed. And why Dafka was there this issue that they went out on Chol Moed? Oh, there was an economic reason. The Moisli Gabon. Workers, normally, they have other work. So to get them to do this kind of work, you have to pay them a higher salary. But now, there's no work. Chol Moed is usher to do other work. So it's cheaper to rent them for this job. when you pay workers to uproot kloim, mitrumas halishka yavin in law, you don't have the balabatim of the field pay for it. It comes from the community chest. Because if it was paid by the balabas, what do we care? How much he has to pay for the work? Called kama the boy whatever he costs, let him pay. But if it's coming from Trumas Halishka, which is community funds, then of course we have a svora why we would do it then, because it's less money then, and we want to save the tzibur money.
But don't we have a principle that the Rabbanan are chas al mamonim shel Yisrael? They don't.
So in a chanami.
I mean, they would, which means that they would be concerned to allow us to do things in a more economical way.
No, but the Gemara one is proved from here that these funds, we must be talking about funds that come from the Trumas Halishka. Because where do we see that I understand there's a general principle when it comes to the tzibur, but when it comes to each and individual yochid, they don't care that the balabais has to pay a certain amount for a worker. A job has to get done, whatever the workers charge, we charge. But if the payment is coming from the Trumas Halishka, they did it on purpose, because workers during Chol HaMoed were going to charge less because there's less competition for their labor. So in Echanami, there is such a principle of chas. By the way, that principle is also usually for tzibur dika things, like we don't decorate the Beis Hamikdash with gold and this and that, and we use that principle of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's chas al mamarim shel Yisrael.
Why shouldn't the balabas have to pay for himself? The call will hire him, and the balabas will pay for it. He's responsible for planting kalayim. Let him pay for it to take it off.
But we're worried he's not going to uproot it, so we want to uproot it.
No, so what we do is we hire somebody to do it and then charge him for it. It's just like today, you don't want to fix your sidewalk. The city will come in, fix the sidewalk, and charge you for it.
The din is this service is considered a tzibur dika service, which is paid by the Trumas Halishka. In Echanami, it's just like fixing the roads or fixing the irrigation ditches.
Yeah, but that's for everybody. But this is a particular thing. He planted it. He planted kalayim. He wasn't careful, so he's responsible for it. It shouldn't be a tzibur. It should be a yachid, and he's got to pay for it. If he doesn't want to do it himself, the klal will.
Oh, hang on, we're not through with the sugya.
Okay.
So, vad kama. How much? What's the sheer kloim that Bezdin is going to send workers out to pull out the kloim? Amar Shmuel bar Yitzchak ko'isa sheshaninu kol saw sheyesh bo rova zeri minacher. If you have a saw worth of plantings that's got a rova saw mixed in it, then you moed. Then they have to get rid of the kloim. Bezin would come and be mafker the whole field. Means the Balbas owns it, but he doesn't own it anymore. So Allah, there were repercussions if he planted kloim. How can you tell me it was just Yemoed? The Brisa says that they mafkered his field. Lo kasha kan koidim takona kan lachar takona. So there was a takona made. The Tanya, Bezin would go out, uproot all of the kloim and throw it in front of the behemoths that were in that field. The Baal Batim had a good time. They were weeding their field for free. And they were also throwing it into the behemoths, so the behemoths would get fed. They don't care that the kloim were pulled out. So Chachamim saw so rather than the Poalim would go out and uproot the kloim, but instead of throwing it in front of the behemoths, they would throw it on the road. Fine. The behemoths weren't getting fed, but at least the Shluchei Bezdin were working the field in a way. Hiskinu shiu mafkirin kol asara kula. Final takana was they were mafkir the person's field. Anybody went into the field could get the field rather than the balabayas. Mishnah Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer Moshkan Samai Me'ilan Le'ilan. On Chol HaMoed, trees need water. It's like a soda base hashalchim which needs irrigation. It's a big hefsid. So you can draw water from tree to tree, but not irrigate a whole field, which if it's a soda base abal, which doesn't need irrigation. Seeds that you have not irrigated before Chol HaMoed. Lo yashkim b'moed. You don't have to be mashke them in moed. Since you're not irrigating them frequently, it's not a big loss if you didn't irrigate them Chol HaMoed. Chachamim they said you could irrigate the whole field. It's a very dry, it used to be moist, but now it's very dry. Mutter, then on Chol HaMoed you're allowed to irrigate it. When they say it's osur to irrigate a field, it's zroim that didn't need irrigation prior. Plantings that needed irrigation before moed, you can continue to irrigate them Chol HaMoed. It's also mutter. It used to be wet, now it's dry, you can still mashke. A very, very dry field, you don't mashke on Chol HaMoed because there's no need for it. However, Chachamim matir, even by that kind of field, and even by seeds that haven't been irrigated prior to Chol HaMoed. Aravina Shmamina, high tarbitza, like a garden, Sharla tarbutza b'chol HaMoed. You can irrigate it Chol HaMoed. Sod agreed my time. Why do we say Chachamim allowed you to irrigate a dried field? These are obviously the field where the plantings don't die. Now, field macher like harfa. The various fruits that ripen later, so by irrigating them, it's helping them. And therefore would be a hefset if you didn't do it. Same thing by this garden. You could scatter water. It's a light irrigation on a grain field. That's a sodeh lavan of during Shemitah of a little bit, but not Chol HaMoed. That's too much tircha b'moed. There's a brayso that allows you to do it either way. On Ravuna loikash Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov harabana. Eliezer ben Yaakov was machmir by a dry field, and the Chachamim were matir. It said muter b'zeh b'zeh. It said that the brayso says you're matir. That's the Rabban. Tani yidich. Marbitzin still love on erev shvius kadesh yetzu yirakos b'shvius. You could do a light irrigation for a grain field on Shemitah. No, erev Shemitah, in order for vegetables to come out on Shemitah. You can also do a light irrigation on Shemitah. It's not considered an avoida of the Adama. So that's permitted if they grow on their own. Mishnah. Tzodin esa ishus v'esachbor misteh ilon u'misteh lovin kedarko. You can trap on Chol HaMoed mice and moles from a field, whether it's a grain field, whether it's an orchard, Chol HaMoed and Shemitah. Shemitah is not considered an avodas adama. The Chachamim misteh ilon kedarko. For an orchard field with trees, fruit trees, you're allowed like regular way. You have to do some kind of shinui for a grain field. You can fix and close up a hole in a fence. A fence is around a garden on Chol Hamoed. V'shvi boine kedarko. V'shvi you can build it directly. It's not considered avodas adama, so it's not a matter of tircha yisera, which is in Chol Hamoed. Chol Hamoed we're more machmir. So first the Gemara wants to know my ishus. What's an ishus? Amar Rav Yehuda Beri shein lo einayim. It's like a mole or a weasel doesn't have eyes, and they can do damage. In Latin, it's called the Spalax ehrenbergi. The choiled, which is like a mole. And they can do damage to the roots of trees. That's why you would hunt them. Amra bar Shmuel v'tem Rav Yema bar Shalom Mikra, K'mor shavlul temes yaloch nefel eishes bal chazu shemesh. The eishes doesn't see the sun. That's the mole. Tanakama says you can hunt these animals from a grain field and an orchard field regular way, without a shinui. You destroy ant holes so that they won't destroy. Worms. Ketzad machrivin. Maybe offer mechor zevnos. So you take dirt from one place and fill it into this place. And they choke it. They all get choked. As long as these two sort of ant holes, or the two holes that you're plugging up, are on two sides of a riverbank, and there's no bridge, the leka kshara, the leka gamla, and there's no either big bridge or small bridge, vudu leka mitzra, and there's no rope between the two sides, because if there's some kind of connection between the two sides, then the ants know that they don't fight with each other. Ad kama ad parsa. These holes would be considered close enough up into a parsa, which is 12 mil. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to close the recording. Jacob asked me, he told me to close the recording. And then we'll... Stop video? Is that, stop video?